Are you a winner or a loser? Seems to me the language of winner and loser has kind of shifted in recent years. Not sure when exactly, but these days I hear it in a much more derogatory and deterministic way than in years gone by. It's said as sort of compliment or accusation, like a schoolyard taunt. Not, you win some and you lose some. Not, well, I might be losing today, but tomorrow I'll be winning. It's used less as a verb and more as a noun to divide the world into two camps, two kinds of people, maybe even ontologically, losers and winners. This dichotomy is at best problematic, in large part because it's used then to dismiss one group, the losers, and bless the behavior of the other, so-called winners. Winners can do no wrong, losers can do no right. On this second Sunday of Easter, alongside a gospel story that from the very earliest days of Jesus' disciples wondering about his resurrection, we also hear a more ancient story from 1,000 years before Jesus lived and died. It comes from an earlier time when the lives of God's peoples changed dramatically. After generations of slavery in Egypt, God recruited Moses to lead God's people out of Egypt with the promise of new life in their own land. Now, the story has many twists and turns before the Israelites eventually walk free on dry ground, with the waters of the Red Sea piled up on either side of them. But when Pharaoh changes his mind about letting them go and sends his army after them, the waters of the Red Sea crash down on the heads of the pursuing army, drowning them, and God's people get away. Today we hear their song of celebration. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider he has thrown into the sea. Now there's an old Sunday school song that uses those words, and it's been kind of rumbling around in the back of my mind. The file drawer is a bit like rusted shut, so I can't quite open it. So can anyone sing it? Do you know what I'm talking about? And the horse and rider falling do-da-ding. Okay, can you sing it? Try. Does anyone know? Can you access it quickly? There's clapping involved. There we are. That's it. No. Anyway, we'll sort it out. It's just been bugging me, so it makes me feel better that I'm not just crazy and making it up. So, at any rate, we'll Google. I didn't YouTube. I could have. Anyway. There's a way of reading, though, this song in the scripture as it details what happened. It actually, especially to contemporary ears, can sound kind of offensive. Is it really okay for us to celebrate the death of our enemies? Do we sing and dance about Iranian people getting killed in recent bombings? Or is it okay as long as it's just the death of ruthless leaders? What about the American service members who have died? And just all of it. What side are we on? Are we winners or are we losers? And how does that impact the songs that we sing? You do know this one. Yours be the glory, risen conquering Son. We'll get to it in a few more minutes. It's okay. That's just the refrain of one of our very classic Easter hymns. And we'll sing the whole thing in a few minutes. Now, I'm actually not a fan of much of our traditional Easter hymnody, but we're singing this one today by my request. And there were others that we could have chosen because there are many that have highly triumphalistic themes. Let the church with gladness hymns of triumph sing, one verse celebrates, of yours be the glory. Make us more than conquerors through your deathless love. Another verse proclaims, yours be the glory, risen, conquering Son. Endless is the victory. Over death you won. We are clearly, unashamedly, indisputably the winners. Many individual Christians today and throughout history, along with churches of every denomination, celebrate Jesus' victory at Easter, Jesus' triumph. And as the winners, with the settled determination of our ontological winning state, we can, indeed we should, and maybe even must, do what we please. Winners are meant to rule others. It's largely what winning means. And if you're on the winning team, our winning team, then if you're not on our winning team, then as losers, you're fair game for bombing, for residential schools, for internment, for pogroms. The rub is we genuinely have reason to celebrate today. Jesus has triumphed. Jesus has conquered death. And this miracle can and should be life-changing for us. The challenge I have, and maybe some of you, is that it's hard for me to hear words like conquer and triumph without the whole sordid, embarrassing, terrible history of Christianity rising up in my mind. Just don't think about it. Or focus on the positive. Just doesn't cut it for me, given all the people who continue to be hurt by how we have too often lived this victory. So mostly I prefer not to sing all our triumphal Easter hymns with their problematic theology, but every so often I think it's good for us to remember so that we can make different choices, think about them differently, not simply in terms of the songs we sing, but far more importantly, in our stance in the world, our posture towards the world, personally and collectively. Now, thankfully, our scriptures today, I think, offer at least two ways to mitigate for the problematic theology of conquest and that dichotomy of winners and losers. First, I think we notice in our gospel story that has at its core the ongoing presence of Jesus' wounds, Jesus' scars. Now, Jesus might be a winner today, but he got there by losing, by dying. There is little sense of triumph, I think, in this story today, because Jesus repeatedly shows and points to his scars as proof of who he is and what he's been through. The disciples and Jesus himself don't come across as conquerors because it's far more tenuous than that. The memories of the pain and the betrayal and the humiliation and the death are still very acute on this first Sunday. In God's world, winning comes through losing, only after. So it's hard for any ontological decision to maintain this ontological division between losers and winners, not if we seriously engage with the fullness of our sacred story. And perhaps even more helpful, in learning how to live as winners, disciples of the risen Christ, particularly as that experience of losing fades when the scars are really healed. It's found at the conclusion of today's psalm. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. For 9 verses, the psalmist celebrates God's work. Great are the deeds of the Lord, he sings. O Lord, your work is full of majesty and splendor. The psalmist exults. It's a celebration not of human might or human achievement, but God's work. Humans are only winners inasmuch as we recognize God's deeds of faithfulness and justice, truth and equity. You send redemption to your people. The psalmist rejoices before concluding, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. This is the wisdom we must not forget, not to be afraid of God exactly, at least not in the sense of cowering or quaking. It's to remember always that God is bigger, stronger, just more than any human. Our winning isn't about conquering others because God conquers all. Wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord because it means remembering that we are not God. We are not better or smarter or more powerful than our God who conquered death only after losing everything.